Wendell from Only Weekends RV. I'm going to share with you my Mofi 5500 connection to my Winegard 360 plus antenna on the roof of the camper. On our property in Tennessee, inside our Keystone Laredo, we don't get any cell phone signal inside the camper on our property. After seeing Elias from Simple Life RV, I decided I'd give it a try to connect my Mofi to the Winegard antenna. Let me explain what we got. First, the camper. It is a Keystone 2020 Laredo 2980 SRL, and we usually camp on weekends. Every once in a while we might take a week to the mountain or to the Gulf, but that's basically it. It came with the Winegard 360 plus antenna mounted on the roof. The Mofi 5500 is a 7690. It is a Cat 20 cellular modem. It only came with one SIM slot, but that's okay for somebody that just does weekend, like us. I use the SIM for my iPad throughout the month, and when we go on weekends, I just pull it out of the iPad and put it into Mofi. And that's how we get our internet. I have tried putting the Mofi in other places beside the couch, up into cabinets, but it seemed like it always took up the space in here. And after seeing Eliza's video on YouTube, I decided to mount it up here on top of the cabinet because I can run the wires over to the pantry and on up to where the antenna is mounted right close to it. I made a plan the best I could. I took the Winegard ceiling cap off, yep, right up there, and looked in the hole and found the cables, and looked in the direction of the pantry, seeing only the installation. I then pulled this box off with the electrical plug here and found out this wall is hollow except for a vent about right here in the center that runs up the middle. Then I measured from the hole in the ceiling over to the pantry, and then down to the pantry to the top of the cabinet, and then over to the Winegard, figuring that I needed 4.7 feet of cable. So I got a 6 foot. So I looked up 2 6-foot SMA extension cables. I got the RG58s and not the RG174 to reduce the loss of signal. Bigger, I don't think I could have fished on through the ceiling. Then I got 2 SMAs to MCX females to female adapters to connect to the antenna. Later I found some SMAs to MCX males to female adapters that I wished I had gotten to keep from having to use 2 adapters at the end. Next was an RV Design S817 dual outlet to run power to the top of the cabinet I already had 8 foot of 14 gauge electric wire left over from another project. Be fine for pulling the power that the modem needs. Also, while I was on there, I found a pack of 5 2-inch flex desk Grommet black for the hose that I was going to put in the walls into the pantry. Ordered these items and thought about how I was going to pull the cables. I need some string and some stuff to something stiff to push the string between the insulation of the ceiling. I found a half pack of ceiling tile hangers I could use for pushing the string through, and I had to do a trip to the Dollar General store to get the string. First part of the plan gone wrong. I waited until all the packages were delivered before I even started. I pulled the plug again, and from beside the coffee nook over here, and then marked up at the top the size of the hole for the plug I needed at the top of the cabinet. And I got the right size round hole bit for the 2-inch garments. Cut the plug hole, checking the size to make sure it would fit, and then drilled a hole. Sure I was not going to hit the vent pipe. Then went inside the pantry and finished the hole from that side and the one in the ceiling to make sure I did not drill through the roof. With the hose done, I pushed the electrical wire down from the top down to the other plug and put them in and put back in the wall. The RB plugs are an odd creature. No screws. You open the back and lay the wires down in the right order. Put the cover on and squeeze until it clicks to make the connection. I had to use a pair of channel locks because my grip was just not strong enough to push them together. So I just laid a towel over it, put them channel locks over it, and squeezed real tight. With the plugs done and the power back on, it was time to push that string through the ceiling for pulling the cables. This is when the plan came to an end. A rafter right before the wall. Right before the wall goes across right there that I could not see. Tiny, through that little tiny hole. Time for a new plan. I could feel the wires in the pantry, the 2-inch hole, and I could tell that they ran to the light right outside here. I removed the light and fished the towel rod, the little towel rod, from the pantry to the light going through that little hole. And it went through the hole of the rafter that was already there. I tied the string on and pulled it through. Then took the towel rod and finished from the light to the hole where the Winegard cables are, pulling the string with it. Now, with that extra distance, the cable I ordered are too short. I need 8.5 feet now. Back to Amazon to order longer cables. This time I got 2 10-foot RG58 SMA extension cables. And that's when I saw this little gizmo right here. That is a, now let me get this right, ZenyNet mini remote control outlet switch. And I put that in my cart too and waited. That switch can turn off the Mofi power from down here without climbing up on the cabinet. When the cables arrived, I unrolled them and stretched them out to get them as straight as I could. Then I used electrical tape, taped one cable to the string. Then the second one I moved down 1 inch from that and taped it on to keep from having a big knot when I pulled it through the ceiling. And right below that I taped on a second string, pulled it slowly and backing it up whenever it caught on anything, when it snagged, until I got to the light. So I pulled from the pantry out to the light. I pulled down extra slack from the light till I figured out how much I needed to get over to the hoe. And then I pulled from the light over to the hoe, leaving 4 to 5 inches of slack at the plug so I had enough room to plug the antenna in. I plugged the antenna in and left it hanging down, and then went back to the pantry and then pushed it through the garments. I put it through the wall over to the Mofi, and I plugged it up to the Mofi. Now on this Mofi, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, the 5500 primary and alternate one is the antenna ports for SIM slot 1. Alternate primary and alternate 2s are for SIM slot 2, which this one doesn't have a SIM slot 2. You know, if I'm wrong in the comments below. I did a test with the cables plugged in before closing everything up. I was getting no cellular signal inside this camper when the Mofi was just sitting here on our property. But now, I was. Second bar would blink off and on a little bit. I rescanned the bands and let the modem choose. Speed tests were 6 to 7 megabits per second. Might not be a lot, but when you have nothing, that's a lot. So I stopped and watched some YouTube videos to make sure. 30 minutes later, I got up and finished closing up all the covers and cleaning up the wood scraps and stuff like that, and closing up and cleaning up my mess basically. So we'll be testing it out more soon. This weekend we got a camping trip planned. I'm glad I have gotten this project done before we went, because it would have been a heck of a mess hanging all these wires hanging down. Now, I hope you like this video, and please give me thumbs up or subscribe below. From Only Weekends RV, see you next time.